So really, what is there exactly to say about this phenomenon at this point when it comes to not even YouTube specifically, but just this whole content creation thing, streaming, Twitch, whatever you want to go with. The whole predator thing just keeps happening. And honestly, I hate to say it, but I'm numb to it at this point. How many people this year alone have been exposed for this? How many people? There was recently Dr. Disrespect, which considering my coverage of that, you bet I was going to cover this one too, so long as enough evidence came out. There's also, who else? Cody Ko, amongst several other examples that I'm sure I'm forgetting at the moment. So just like with the previous one, I'm also talking about this one with Kris Tyson. Nearly slipped the mind there. I'm not going to go into detail because let's be real here. If you're watching this video, you probably don't need the details at this point. You're probably at least somewhat aware of what exactly has gone on pertaining to this whole situation with MrBeast, which something I'll say about that is whether or not Jimmy knew, I mean, him knowing, that would be the most least shocking thing to hear. And let me just say, I'm fully aware of the fact that MrBeast responded, or Jimmy. And something I will say about that real quick is, I will allow the independent investigators the necessary time to conduct a comprehensive investigation and will take any further action based on their findings. What does that even mean? Your own investigation with independent? It just feels to me like this, he knew. It's just the results of now that people are blowing this shit up for obvious reasons. Now he has to come out and put out a statement, and now has to let go of this person, because of course he has to. He's protecting his friend. They're buddies. And a lot of people, whether it's friends, family, whatever the case may be, when two people, or a certain amount of people, when people that you care enough about, you do business with specifically, or just anything, many situations, that connection, it makes it hard to just want to cut people off or not associate with them for any reason when you know it's not the right thing to do. And that's not me defending anyone's actions, of course. I'm just explaining how these things have a tendency of going, which is all the more reason why when you involve family or friends in business, it can really complicate matters. Especially when you, the person who are involving your family and friends, probably don't really care enough to actually do anything until you have to. And so when it comes down to it, did Jimmy know? Again, whether it did or not, I don't really think it matters. I don't care either way. Again, it's not surprising at all if that's the case. I just simply look at it as MrBeast will be fine after the fact. Yeah, this is a really big controversy. It's bad and all that, but he'll be fine. They will go on as they always do. They will continue making content as they always do. MrBeast and his whole team. There's nothing else to be said about that, I feel. But regarding everything else, I think the point I'm trying to get to with this video, this is very rambly of me, if we're being honest, but I feel it's the best way to approach this video, especially with how I'm feeling at the moment. The way I see it, it's bad, of course, but at the same time, in a sense, it's good because it allows these monsters to be exposed for the garbage that they really are. And when it comes to someone like Kris Tyson, Disrespect, EDP, James Charles, they're all the same person, dude. They're all the same person, just they look a little different. That's it. It doesn't matter your gender, your race, your sexuality. If you're a predator, you're a predator. They are all the same person. There's no difference there. There's none. It's just about the different levels. But even then, it doesn't matter what the levels are. It's all equally bad because the intention is still there to do something. That's literally what it is. Just talking about it, DMing, about meeting up to VidCon, for example, that's still intention. And when it comes to these people, I'm not one to go out of my way to hope for nothing but the worst for people, but in my opinion, if that's what ends up happening to someone like Kris or just any one of these other motherfuckers, I feel nothing. There's no sympathy to be had. These people can fuck off and be dead tomorrow. I would feel nothing. If someone wants to feel something, go right ahead. That's your prerogative. That's your way of life. That ain't mine. Again, I'm just rambling here. And in terms of the whole trans things, which, that doesn't matter. It's not relevant. A predator is a predator. But what I will say is, if we're going to talk about that, it's only going to make the community look bad when it comes to that sort of thing, which, especially being that it's still a minority, all things considered, and considering the beliefs of other people who aren't as on board, it's just gonna lead to tons of roadblocks. And as much as it sounds like it's simplifying it, it's really not. As much as it sounds like I'm minimizing it, I'm not. It really is that when it comes to that at the end of the day. And something else I'm going to say regarding Kris Tyson and specifically his pronouns. Yeah, I called him a he. And I do that throughout this video, and the reason why is because why the fuck would I ever respect the pronouns of someone who doesn't even respect his own community enough that he claims to be a part of and care about to not want to fuck a 13-year-old? Why the fuck would I ever do that? If that's what your priorities are about, your shit is whack as fuck and you can get fucked for all I care. Fuck you. And fuck the mainstream media for perpetuating that garbage-ass narrative. And I get why they do it. Truly, I do. Because whatever works best in our interest when it comes to the profits that we make, about the community that we oh so care so much, the claim we care about, it's the same sort of logic as whenever a corporation such as Sony, for example, is so censorship heavy because they gotta protect the children. Yeah, leave the kids alone unless it's something that suits our narrative, right? Fuck y'all. Oh, and speaking of the whole leave the little children alone thing, in the case of someone like Nick Merckx, for example, and not liking trans people, that's only going to give more validity. And it's because these people these predators don't care. That's what people need to understand. They don't care. They don't give a shit who they hurt. That's why they do it. They're in it for the self-interest. And other aspects such as the power dynamic and potentially being emotionally stunted. A lot of these people just seem to come across as they developed mentally till the age of somewhere in their teens, and then they just stopped after that. And that's something that you see all too commonly in the entertainment industry, but I'll get more into that later on in the video. And I'm sure desperation is involved to some extent as well, with loneliness potentially stemming from that, and all these factors I just brought up aren't excuses. I think it's just an explanation as to how these predators' brains function and work the way they do. Or at least some of the reasons, but I feel like these are definitely the main ones. I could be wrong, but that's just the feeling I get. I mean, shit, it could be a chemical imbalance of some type that's causing it too. And again, none of these things I'm mentioning are excuses. I'm bringing them up because I think it's important to understand the reason as to why these people keep going about things the way they do, as a means of understanding it more, while at the same time holding them completely accountable for being disgusting human garbage. Because if it's something such as trauma that's the result of so many predators existing, then it's important to understand the reason why as a means of preventing it from happening more in the future. I actually saw something about how apparently Kris Tyson divorced his wife because he'd make more money from company investments.
And big news bomb. Apparently, I was being told from a very reliable source, his percentage of ownership was about to drastically increase after his divorce with Katie went through.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So he was about to hustle the mother of his child. Or she was about to hustle.
That's what I said earlier.
Yep.
Oh
and
my
that's
God.
a very credible source that I got that from. So yeah.
He's saying, fuck the family, I'm here to get it back for me. I want more money. These people can't be trusted. There's nothing to trust about them. There's no defending them. When enough evidence comes out, when you, the person, the perpetrator, are called out, and you have nothing to say for yourself aside from a nothing message on Twitter, a tweet long, whatever it is. If it's nothing, you say nothing, which Kris said nothing. Whole lot of yapping. And as far as I'm concerned, it doesn't matter. That's the expose right there. You just revealed the truth right there. Because if it wasn't the truth, you'd have something to back it up with. Why hasn't Dr. Disrespect, for example, why hasn't he just showed the DMs himself? Why hasn't he shown the DMs if they aren't that bad? If we're just going to mention that real quick because it's such a good example. Why? And it's something I think is really fucking stupid is how EDP, and I'm not defending him, I'm not playing devil's advocate, really. I'm just saying, why is it he lost everything but all these other people didn't? Oh, that's right, because they have the backing to keep their platforms. You, James Charles, or Dr. Disrespect, you may lose your monetization temporarily, but, or at least you'll lose it maybe permanently. But hey, look, you could still make content. EDP though, oh, nope, sorry, your weight amount does not make up for the coverage that you will receive as a content creator. You don't have that protection. The weight does not constitute as protection. The weight of the cupcake at hand simply does not match the predator approachers and the way they go about approaching this situation with the cupcake. It simply doesn't compare. It's not disrespectful enough. It's not Tyson enough. Okay, I'll stop. EDP, you're not white enough looking, so fuck you. Okay, now I'll definitely stop. And the problem here is it's not even just a content creator thing within YouTube and Twitch. It's a thing not even in the entertainment industry as a whole. It's a thing everywhere you go. It's everywhere. These terrible people, these subhumans are just, it doesn't matter. They're in all these different communities. It's not about just one specific one. It's about everyone. Predators exist everywhere you go. And though many won't admit to the double standard, you see it all the time in religion. And you also see it, and this is a massive double standard that I'm happy is starting to change a little bit. Female predators, and how when it comes to, say, female teachers raping, yes, I'm using that word because it's accurate, underage minor students, specifically boys. But hey, she's a woman, so it's okay. Now, if the genders were the other way around and it was a grown man with a teenage girl, now it becomes an issue. And you still see examples of people saying things like, dude, you had sex with a grown teacher? You had sex with the hot teacher? Bro, that's so wicked. High five! Man, golly gee willikers, am I surely so jealous and envious. Man, if only I got the chance to have sex with a hot teacher when I was growing up, man. You're based. You're a dude. You're an alpha male, bro. Sigma shit. Let's get it. And anyone who disagrees, they're clearly just jealous. Yeah, what I'm saying definitely is a projection. Yeah, that's it. They're just jealous, And I know that it has to do with gender roles and how things have been with society for years, but it's nice to see that slowly starting to shift, where it goes to show it doesn't matter who you are. Again, anyone can be a predator. But hey, I guess that when it comes to, say, media and mainstream media in particular, if it doesn't suit their narrative, then I suppose it really doesn't matter now, does it? You know, similar to Chrissy Boy proceeding to transition, even though he was already on that freaky shit prior to doing it, and according to Jake the Viking in that Twitter clip I showed earlier in the video with divorcing the wife for the sake of getting a bigger bag, and if that's true, it just makes me think all the more that the whole transition thing was a bit of a scapegoat as opposed to actually being genuine. But hey, that's just me. I mean, I've known people in person who, specifically guys as minors, were being assaulted, raped by grown adult women. And especially if it's a grown woman with a teenage girl, then at that point, people in many situations will look at it as an example of, well, you know, they're just two girls hanging out and having fun. Oh, but if it's a grown man with a teenager, specifically a girl or a boy, whatever the case may be, now it's an issue. I'm happy to see that's changing. And anyone who defends that, you can fuck right off. And what matters is that these people are being called out. It's awful, but there's a lot of fucking freaks. There's a lot of freaks out there. And it's more publicized than ever because the internet has never been bigger. So it makes it easier for so many different people to have platforms, especially people that spend so much time online. And then a lot of it, in many cases, is a power dynamic. That just goes back to the not caring thing. It's entirely selfish. And I'm not one to say something such as creators are responsible for what their audience does. I'm never going to believe that. That's beyond ridiculous. But what I will say is, as a content creator, it's your responsibility. It comes down to you having the accountability to not abuse your power. Even not just with minors, but even with above age people, with legally aged people. And I'm not talking about the age of consent laws of like 13, 14, 15 years old in certain states in Europe. No. I'm talking about just 18 and up, even doing some fuck shit with someone that age. That's still bad. It's all bad. Nothing more, nothing less. It's all terrible. Again, I'm not really sure what point I'm trying to make here, dude. The point is, though, I guess if it walks and talks like a duck, it's a duck. I keep shrugging like this, but it's just the most. It feels the most natural in terms of movements I can make. Just I can't, and that's the thing. I'm not gonna act like I knew this whole time Kris was guilty of something, because they came off a little weird. But then it's like, well, it's just that. But seeing all this shit, and then it seems like there's been little examples here and there that it's just been building up to a point where this just, for me, it just doesn't feel very surprising. And I mean, you look at someone like R. Kelly, P. Diddy, again, these people are just everywhere. Yeah. And as for Shadman and that whole thing, specifically with Keemstar's daughter and the drawing of her, what I'll say is, and this isn't an excuse, obviously, just for one, people don't even know what lolly even was then. I don't even think that was a term back in 2016 when the drawing was made and released to the public. And secondly, I remember thinking to myself when I saw that and just being weirded out by it. Like, okay, I guess he's trying to be edgy and memey because that was a part of his whole shtick and brand. He just goes back to the point of this does not help that community. It just doesn't. Yeah. Fuck all these predators equally, though. They're all scum. And I'm just going to leave it at that because there's nothing else to say. I'm not going to drag it on. Just there's nothing to defend. And if you in any way, shape, or form defend any of these people, then it says more about you than anything as far as I'm concerned. So that's the note I'm going to leave it on. Make sure to subscribe, follow me on Twitter, Instagram, turn on notifications, all that jazz and good shit. And I'll see you for the next thing that comes to the channel, all right? Till then, I'm out. Later.